Hello, you are listening to A Woman's Guide, Episode 14. Are you needlessly sacrificing and codependent? What does it mean and how does it obstruct our lives? Why and how do we kick self-sacrificing habits and codependent tendencies in relationships? Today's episode is How to Overcome Self-Sacrifice and Codependency. Stay tuned. This is a woman's guide to reclaiming wholeness after sexual abuse. For all of you listening, welcome to the show. I am Simone, your confidant and guide. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, so self-sacrificing. Particularly for us women, I mean, if you're a man, it's okay. You're not banned from listening to this podcast just because it's about women. But anyway, particularly as women, okay, we are, I think, naturally prone to self-sacrificing. I think it's in our nature. It's in our nature to be nurturing, to be loving. We have maternal instincts. So I would say that it's more natural, or we're more prone to become self-sacrificing because it's in our nature to be so nurturing and caring and loving, and we want to take care of everyone and make sure everyone's okay, and we want to soothe and make things better because that's just what it's in our genetics, it's in our gender to do that. We're just wired to want to take care of others. Okay, so that's why one of the reasons why I made this episode, because I said, oh, self-sacrifice, that's a big one. Big one, because I think we all do it and we don't know that we're doing it because we do it, we've learned how to do it, and we just are so used to doing it. But anyway, let me distinguish between, or let me speak about what is self-sacrifice really in the way that I'm speaking about it, okay? So basically, self-sacrifice in this context in which I'm speaking about it is to give up all of your time, or at least most of your time, energy, interests, goals, dreams, desires, many times needlessly. We give up too much of ourself. We give ourselves away. We give our lives away. Okay? You're giving up too much of your being, of yourself. Okay? You're sacrificing yourself for your jobs. It could be anything. It could be for any cause or any person or anything. For your jobs. I know women do this a lot for their families, for their husband and children. And while I think it's very honorable to do that, and you give yourself fully to your family, it goes too far. That's what I'm speaking about here. You give up, all of these things that I just told you in relationship to other people, friends even, parents, your own parents. You give up too much of yourself for your parents. Basically what I'm speaking about is just codependent relationships, and that's something I'm going to get a little more into, okay, in a little bit. But ultimately, it's self-sacrificing, I honestly believe, is a learned behavior. It is something that we learned through our upbringing or past experiences. And we cannot rule out cultural beliefs and ideals, societal gender roles that that were placed on our heads as to what a woman should do and how she's supposed to do this and how she's, I've heard that she's just there to support her husband or just there to take care of the kids, but she's not to have anything for herself, that type of thing. And also, it can be learned through abuse. Of course, it's not just sexual abuse. I will always refer to sexual abuse, but it's not just specified to sexual abuse. It could be many other abuses. Abuse causes us to believe through the actions of others. Through the actions of others, whichever way it happens, that we are just there to fulfill someone else's need, agenda, or purpose. We're just there to further their advancement, or we're there to fill a void or fill a need that they have, or we're there to be someone else's, I don't know, source of control in that way. Also, with certain kinds of abuse, like physical or emotional, we become the brunt of someone else's anger or frustration or discontentment or fear. So basically, we just become the object of someone else's frustration. We become projected onto by their anger, by their frustration, by their depression, by their issues and problems that they're experiencing. We become the sounding board. We become the doormat. We become physically abused. We become mistreated. Okay? Also, we sometimes are just there for their pleasure, right? Sexual abuse. We're there for their pleasure. Whatever they wanted, that's something that we are required to do. We're there for their own fascination, for their own experimentation, for their own excitement within their mind. Okay? We learn that, okay, I'm just here to serve you. I'm here to make you okay. I'm here to do for you because you want that done. I'm here to just be a tool of gratification for you, an object of excitement or physical pleasure, whatever. That's what we learn. That's what we learn from that. We learn that we do not matter. I don't matter. What I want doesn't matter. I don't get to choose what I want. Obviously, what I want does not matter because we've gone through these type of abuses. Our life existence becomes purely for that person or those people. That's what we surmise in our mind, that our life existence is just there for them, for other people, for them. Okay? And other times we learned what to do, or we learned to do what we were told in order to avoid trouble, in order to avoid physical abuse, in order to avoid criticism, name calling, disrespectful names, disrespectful comments, labels, and judgments. We learned to do what we're told so we can avoid that. And sometimes even emotional neglect, physical and emotional neglect. So we just do what we were told, or we do what we do to please that person in any way, where they will continue to treat us the way we want to treat us. And of course, that's not anything close to love. That's not love. That is more of a conditional love. And the conditional love is not love. That's just something else. That's not love. If you have to do something in order to get love or attention or care or warmth, then that's not unconditional love. That's conditional. So some of us have learned to be self-sacrificing because of those reasons that I just explained, okay? Many of us believe that the only way that we can be loved or feel worthy, feel good about ourselves. And we learned that we have to do those things, or do whatever is required, or do whatever we feel like that person would want or like. We did that because if we didn't do that, then we will feel that we're not enough, we're not worthy, We won't get the love that we need. And of course, that is something that, that's not something that we created in our mind. That was something that we actually experienced. Like, people treated us that way, where we believed that if we did not do what we were told or what we were expected, what was indicated or insinuated by the behavior that they demonstrated toward us, by us not doing what they wanted, that we wouldn't get the love that we got. Okay? So this is where people-pleasing comes in. And I know people-pleasing way too well, for sure. Like, that is something I know. People-pleasing comes from wanting to get that love and validation by doing things for other people excessively. Like, in my own personal example, I would say that this people-pleasing stuff started when I was really young. Now that I look back and because my memory, I can recall things very well. Like, I have a good memory. Some things are very, very foggy, but the funny thing is I really have a good memory, especially about that time period between probably my 1st and my 5th grade of school, in elementary school. And that's where this is where this people-pleasing thing came up within me. Like, this is something that was developed within me, because I'll explain it to you. I wouldn't say I was an odd kid, because I wasn't odd. It's just that I was a loner. I wasn't a loner all the time. There were times where I did have friends, but for the most part, I was a misfit, and I didn't fit in. And, those kids that I went to school with, they didn't like me, especially little girls. They just never liked me. They thought I was weird. They thought I was ugly. They thought I was stupid. They would tell me that, which was bullying, right? So I remember that I was just alone the majority of the time, and I was trying to figure out why is it that I was not accepted, or why is it that, these little girls would not talk to me and things like that. And mind you, there were times where I did have friends, but it was far in between. But I was a loner. I would have to say that I was a loner. I had both, but I was a loner. For the most part, I was a loner. And I remember that pain of feeling like I don't fit in and I'm not enough because I'm not accepted by these little girls. I'm not. The little boys were, I think I had, the times where I really did have the friends, there were little boys. It was little boys, but the little girls, I didn't get a lot of that validation from the little girls. So I just developed this people-pleasing streak, because the times that some of those little girls would come up to me and want to talk to me, and I was just so excited that someone actually saw me and someone actually validated my presence. And they may not have had the right intention. They just wanted to use me for something. But because I was so happy that they talked to me, I was so happy that they paid attention, I just did whatever they wanted. You understand what I'm saying? Because I was so starved for validation and attention that when they'd come around and they'd want something done, I'll just do it. I don't care. I just wanted to please them, to have in my mind that, okay, I'm going to get this validation and this love that I need, I just felt like that was the only way that I could get love, was if I were to do something, because me being me is not enough. Me being me, walking around being me, looking the way that I was looking, doing what I was doing is not enough. The only way I can get this love is if I do something to help, if I do something to fix, if I do something to change something with them, something that they want. That's the only way I'm going to get this love. So that's where that people-pleasing came from. It actually did not start with sexual abuse. It did not start with that. It started with me being a misfit, and it started with me being a loner, and it started with me being neglected on some level. But I'm pretty sure my story is very similar to a lot of people's stories out there. It's not rare. I really don't think it's rare. But that's where it started from. When I was sexually abused, that just made everything worse. I mean, like I said, it just made everything worse. It made me feel even more wrong. It made me feel like I really had to please in order to be validated, and shown so much attention, because, you know, with my eldest brother, if this is the first episode that you're watching, it's my eldest brother who abused me. I got a lot of attention, but it was not good attention. It was not good attention. So it was almost like he was feeding off of my already existing wounds. It was like he was feeding off of my already existing wounds, because I didn't feel enough. And I was doing all this people pleasing, and I just felt like I had to do so much for people. So that when my brother came along, well, yes, he did come along, because I didn't grow up with him for a few years. When he came along and you started showing me all this attention, at first it was really good attention, but then it turned bad. And I mean, it's very complicated, and it's very sad, and it's very heartbreaking when you think about it, because I just wanted attention and I wanted love, right? That's what we all do. But anyway, what I'm saying about my brother is that he did show me attention at first, and it was good attention, but then it turned into bad attention. So that just taught me even more that I'm just there to serve someone else. I'm just there to be there for someone else. I'm there for someone else's agenda or purpose or pleasure or fascination or fetish. That's what I'm just there for, right? So that's just basically a little bit about that for me. That's how I know that I developed this people-pleasing streak. It was really, really bad. But anyway, I believe that self-sacrifice, aside from what I'm saying, in very small quantities, it's okay. It's okay. So what I mean by that is, for example, if you've just become a mother, and I'm not a mother, okay, because I can't really sit here and talk about mothering and how to take care of children. I don't know about this stuff, but I've observed enough women, and I've listened to and talked to enough women to know that there's just some things you have to give up for a time. Not that you're getting rid of your desires and your goals and your dreams, but there are some things you just have to give up or put on hold for a time, so that you can fulfill this role that this motherhood, demands, okay? So you have to give up something temporarily in order to fulfill what this role or this position requires of you. I just think in any life change, when we go to another level, we go through a different stage of our life, another role in life, something needs to be sacrificed in order to be attained. That's just the law. That's the law of sacrifice. If you want something, if you want to get something, you have to give something up. The law of sacrifice is really that precise. So, for example, and I'm not speaking about sacrifice like those things that you hear about Illuminati and those type of thing, blood sacrifices. I'm not speaking about that, because every time I hear the word sacrifice, I think about that stuff. It's not that. I'm not speaking about that. What I'm speaking about is, when you are, let's say, for example, you're wanting to lose weight. You're wanting to get fit. You're wanting to develop a more healthier lifestyle and have a healthier body, be more fit, be more energized. You want to glow. You want to be toned and whatever, okay? You just want to lose weight, all right? When you want to lose weight, in order to attain that goal, you have to give something up that you were doing before that was preventing you from reaching that goal. So that means you got to give up some of those foods that you don't want. You have to give up those bad routines and bad habits that are going to stop you or obstruct you from reaching that point where you can, get that desired outcome, okay? So you have to give up some of those foods. You got to give up some of those foods. You got to eat smaller portions. You got to, exercise. So that means sometimes you got to give up the TV. You have to give up TV. You have to give up those sedentary, I think that's the word, sedentary activities where you're just sitting around and you're just being very still and you're being very attentive to whatever you're seeing on your screen, you have to give some of that up. You got to give things up in order to get what you want. So that's just another example. Okay? Now, where sacrificing becomes a problem, this is where the line is drawn. Okay? This is where the line is drawn between healthy sacrifice and bad sacrifice, self-sacrifice. It becomes a problem when we give up our morals, our integrity, our essence of self. Okay? We give up ourself, like who we are, our purpose, the way we are, our uniqueness, our desires, our goals, our dreams. I think I mentioned a little bit about this already. We give up ourselves for someone else or others or for a cause. We're giving up ourselves. We just become self-sacrificial. That becomes too far. And then when we become a crutch or a doormat or a pawn or an object of manipulation for someone else, then we know, and I'm speaking about now, I'm not speaking about in your past when you really could not help what happened to you. I'm speaking about now when you're an adult and you're old enough to decide what it is that you want done, okay? When that happens, that's when you know that it's going too far. It's becoming a sacrifice. You're becoming a sacrifice. Okay? And I'm going to give you a few ways to tell if you're self-sacrificing, okay? A few ways, because sometimes we don't know. We're so used to it. We're so indoctrinated with this idea or this belief. We don't know that we're self-sacrificing. Okay? But I'm going to give you a few reasons, a few ways for you to tell if you're self-sacrificing. The first one is you are out of touch with yourself. You are out of touch with yourself. Okay, so what does that mean? You're no longer familiar with who you are anymore. You're no longer familiar with who you are, what you're about, what you want, where you're going, what your purpose and life is. You're not in touch with yourself. You become distant with yourself. You're not so intimate with your ideas, your goals, your desires and dreams. But you know about other people's stuff. You know about other people's lives. You know about the thing that you're sacrificing yourself for, but you're not in touch with yourself anymore. You're just not in touch. Okay? And with that, the next point is, when you do think about those ideas and goals and dreams and desires that are special to you and unique to you and good for you, it hurts you. It hurts you. It hurts. Because you are not working towards it. You're not doing it. You have not even started the things that are important to you. So you have this desire, but you're sad because you're not doing what it is that you wanted to do or what you planned to do, what you intended to do. So you become sad. It hurts you. Because you know that there's things that you need to do, there's stuff that you need to do, there's goals that you need to attain, but because you're sacrificing, you can't do it. You're allowing yourself to be sacrificed. You cannot do these things, so it hurts you. And then you do not have time for yourself. That is the biggest indication. You don't have time for yourself. And why don't you have time for yourself? Well, you're tending to other people. Their plans, their needs, their desires, their problems. They're calling you and you're answering the phone and you're telling them what to do, and people are always at your door. Okay? You're always tending to the cause and tending to the cause of other people and tending to the cause of your company or your job or whatever. Not to say that, and it's not to say that just because it's a job or it's a certain company or business, it doesn't mean that it's something that you're meant to do or something you want to do. but you're sacrificing all yourself for it. You don't have time for yourself. You don't have time for yourself. You're going from one thing to the next, hop skipping from one thing to the next, and before you know it, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and you did not even brush your teeth yet, or you didn't take a shower. You don't have time for yourself, let alone even think about what it is you really want to do for yourself. You don't have time for yourself. And this is another one too. You're sick to death or apprehensive about someone calling you. You're sick of the phone. You don't want to see people ringing your phone. You don't want anyone to get in touch with you. But people are always getting in touch with you because you're the go-to person. They can always rely on you to do things for them. Okay, they can always rely on you to do things for them, but you're sick to death of that phone. You're tired of it. You have dread when someone calls your phone. You're like, oh gosh, what's the problem now? What are they gonna ask me for now? Because you're self-sacrificing. Okay? And of course, you can see where I'm going with this. The next point is that you're unhappy and miserable, drained, emotionally and physically. Most of the time, that's what you're feeling. You're unhappy, miserable, and drained. And most of all, you're jaded. So you've lost your zest for anything and life because you're jaded. You're jaded of self-sacrificing. You're jaded of other people. You're jaded of life. You have no energy. You have no spunk. You know? Life is a drag to you. Everything is a drag because you're living for other people. You're living for something that you're not supposed to be living for. Or never mind that, just putting all your attention into one thing. You're sacrificing all of your life, or you're just putting too much of yourself. You're putting too much of yourself into one thing, which is not what you want to do. Self-sacrificing, okay? And this is another indication, and you know that you're self-sacrificing. You're always feeling victimized and powerless. Yeah, you're feeling victimized and powerless. That's just going to come with being self-sacrificing because you're not in control of your own life. You're not in control of your own life. You have not taken control of your own life. So that's going to leave you victimized and powerless. That's going to leave you in a state of powerlessness. Because you're not doing what it is you want to do. You're not doing it the way that you want to do, or the way that you wish you can do, or the way you hope you can do. But you're not doing it. You're sacrificing yourself for other things and other people and other reasons and purposes. So that's going to leave you feeling powerless because you're not holding on to your power. You're giving yourself away too much. And mind you, what I'm saying about power is not to say that, power is just holding on to yourself and you're not doing anything for anyone else and it's selfish. I'm not saying that power is selfish. What I'm saying is you're not powerful, or you don't have that power within yourself. Okay? You don't feel that power because you are not controlling your own life. You're not dictating your own life. You're not being your own person and purpose. You're not. That's where you're going to have powerlessness. And I can actually relate that to trauma and abuse. I feel like that is kind of like, in a certain way, you are reenacting the cycle of abuse within yourself by making yourself powerless. Because you were already made powerless, okay? You were made powerless in those experiences, in that past experience. Okay, you felt powerless, and you were powerless. On a humanistic level, you were powerless, okay? But I think what happens is that we reenact that cycle, but we do it in a different way. We do it in different ways. So we stay powerless by allowing things to rule us. That's what I think. So that's for self-sacrificing. Those are the things that I think someone who is self-sacrificing would feel, or you would feel if you're self-sacrificing. So now with codependency, this is, I guess, another branch of this topic, but it's not really a branch. It's more like a fruit. Let's put it that way. It's more like a fruit, because codependency is pretty much self-sacrifice, but it's extended more. It's extended outward a little bit more, which means that it's not so, okay, it is based off of the self, but you are self-sacrificing. Because you're self-sacrificing, you're more prone to becoming codependent with other people. Codependent really just means that it's with other people. Okay? You become self-sacrificing to other people. You are more prone to get into codependent relationships because you're self-sacrificing. So codependency is really just about other people. It's attaching yourself to other people. Okay? Let me explain what the definition is. Codependency is really taking care of someone else's needs, desires, responsibilities, emotions at the expense of yourself. And I know in our society, or just the way a lot of us believe, is that when you're in a relationship, yeah, you're supposed to take care of someone's needs and desires. No, you're not. First of all, I think we got that a little bit twisted. Okay? And of course, I'm not speaking to that level that many people speak about. I'm speaking to the extreme. But anyway, what I'm saying is that we're not supposed to take care of people's needs. We take care, everyone has their own needs. Everyone needs to take care of their own needs. Okay? It's their own needs that needs to be taken care of. Their own desires. Everybody has a responsibility to make themselves happy and to fulfill their own needs and to do what it is that they know is going to make them happy, because that's your responsibility. That's just your responsibility. But I understand how people are saying about, like, in terms of love relationships, oh, you got to take care of someone's needs and desires. But it's just about, you love that person, you appreciate them, you admire them, so you want to do things for them. But it's really about wanting to. And it's not about making that person happy. You don't make people happy. Yes, you can share the happiness, you can share the love, but you can't make people happy. Okay? So yes, you do things for other people because you love them. You do things because you admire them, you respect them. They're special to you. So that's why you do things that you want to. You do things to enhance their life, and you do things because that's just what you choose to do, okay? But when I'm speaking about responsibilities too, you're taking care of someone else's responsibilities, no. When you're taking care of the things that you know that they're supposed to do for themselves, and you're taking care of that, no. When you're taking care of someone else's emotions, do you understand what I'm saying here? Like, when you're taking care of someone's emotions, like you're literally caretaking. You're caretaking of their emotions. That means that's more than me being respectful or me honoring you or me loving you. That's me just wanting to make you happy, wanting to make you content, encouraging you 24/7, making you feel, or trying to make you feel better about yourself, whereas you are supposed to be doing that for yourself, because it's your responsibility to take care of your own emotions and your own thoughts. That's what I'm speaking about here. It's like you're caretaking. There's a difference between, putting in your side and, having that 50-50 thing going on with relationships. And you are doing your thing, and you have your life, and you have your desires, and you have your ways, and you have your stuff going on, and they have theirs. But then you both of you people bring yourself together in a very holistic way, where you both have your whole lives, okay, taking care of your whole lives, separately, and then you come together and you become, you know what I'm saying? You share in another person's life, but it's not about you caring about, doing for, taking up their responsibilities, making them better, trying to make them better, trying to make them happy, that's codependency. Okay? And if you don't know already that codependent relationships are very one-sided, the majority of the time they're very, very one-sided. And what that means is that there's someone who is a chronic giver. I'm going to say it's you. Pretty sure you're the chronic giver. And then you have the chronic giver and the chronic taker. So the person's just taking. But if you're watching this video or this audio, listening to this audio, I'm pretty sure that you know somewhere deep down inside of you, you're sacrificial. You're sacrificing yourself. And or you're a chronic giver. Because I believe, if you're going to be sacrificial, self-sacrificial, you're going to be a chronic giver. Because you're giving too much of yourself. So you see why I put them together? Because this is the dynamic that a codependent relationship requires, is that one person is doing everything. They're doing a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm talking about 85% to 15%. Like, that is the ratio there. Or it could be even more extreme, or it could be a little bit less. It doesn't matter. The point is that one person is doing all the chronic giving. One of the people is doing all the giving. They're chronic givers. Or you have another dynamic, which is basically the same thing. You're the savior. There's a savior-victim dynamic. And what that means is you're the one who's always saving. You're always giving advice. You're always encouraging. You're always giving your time, your money, your effort, your emotions. You're giving all of yourself to help this person, to save this person, to mend their broken hearts, to patch up their broken, patch up their festering wounds. You're the one who's going to save them from themselves. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of dynamic. And you can have the chronic giver and the savior at the same time, because you're just chronically giving. You're chronically giving your time to save this person. All your resources, all your emotions, it's insane, okay? One of the features of a codependent relationship, and I think I previously discussed that, or briefly discussed that, is that there's no boundaries. There's no boundaries. Or maybe I didn't say anything like that. But there's no boundaries at all. Or they're very, very, very thin. There's no boundaries, emotional or physical boundaries, or line of distinction between you and this person. So it's like you guys are like grafted flesh. Let's put it that way. That's the only way I could really describe it. You're like grafted flesh. Really, you're supposed to be two pieces of flesh, but you're grafted in, like you're grafted in. There's no boundaries, emotional or physical boundaries. There's just no boundaries. There's no distinction between you and that person. What separates you and that person? What separates your emotions and their emotions, and your desires and their desires? What separates their responsibilities and your responsibilities? It's like you become one entity. And that, it does sound creepy when you think about it. You become one entity with that person. It's like you are no longer your own self. You're no longer your own person. You have become engrafted in this person's life. And that's very unhealthy, I might add. Very, very unhealthy. Very, very, very unhealthy. Okay? Codependent relationships could be any kind of relationship. It does not, a lot of people think, or a lot of people feel that if we're talking about relationships, it's just romantic or a partnership. No. It could be anything. It could be romantic partnerships. It could be friendships. It could be relationship between a parent and a child, or siblings, or it could be any relationship that can be codependent. Any relationship can be codependent, okay? So if you are this person, I'm pretty sure you are this person who's chronic giver, savior, okay? Because if you're on the other end, you're not going to feel like anything's wrong. And you're not going to feel like, okay, I'm just doing all the giving here. I'm doing all the saving here. Because if you're on the receiving end, you're happy as a little lark. You're okay. Because you're not doing anything. You're the one who's receiving and taking and taking and taking and taking, right? So I know that you're the chronic giver or the savior. Okay? When you become like this, when you are this person, when you step into this role of codependency, of becoming a chronic giver, a savior or something, you give up everything. I mean, geez. This is why it's codependent, because you give up everything. It takes up your life. You give up everything. What you are and what you want to do. And of course, there's varying degrees. It's not all the way totally, absolutely, ridiculously extreme. And it's not all the way subtle either. There's varying degrees. But the point is, I think the characteristic is that you're giving up too much of yourself. You're giving up what you are, what you want to do. Things go to the wayside to be replaced with this relationship and or this person or people. Okay? It's very unhealthy to have these kind of relationships. Very unhealthy, very unhealthy. And if you're not careful, codependent relationships will really completely take over your life. It really does. It can become the foundation or the basis of everything in your life. It becomes your all-day agenda. It becomes your priority, your responsibility, your obligation. That person's life becomes yours. Remember what I told you about being grafted in? Yeah. And I can give you a personal example. I've always have personal examples. And I swear to you, I'm not making any of this stuff up. I'm not just coming up with examples. I've gone through these things, okay? I guess that's why I'm making this show, because I have a whole lot to say, right? But personally, I was in a relationship, a codependent relationship, and it was a friendship. It was not a romantic partnership or anything like that. It was a friendship. And I didn't realize at first that I was in a codependent relationship, because it's like, it's something that can make you feel like it's very intimate and it's very connective and it's like a special connection you're having with this person. But it can easily turn really weird and really creepy almost, you know what I mean, with just the intensity of this dynamic between you and this person, okay? And I know that with every relationship there's something that needs to be taught. There's something that you need to learn. And I was basically, I was the chronic giver, savior type, okay? I was just constantly giving my time, my energy. I mean, this person would call me like 50 times a day. And I would answer each and every time. And I would be, because this was around the time where I was unemployed. I mean, I was unemployed for a very long time, on and off. But, I would be there on the phone for so long, talking to this person, and them, telling me about their problems and their difficulties, and what's going wrong, and what they want, and what they can't get, and how people can stop them. People are stopping them. And it was like, it was like it was taking up a lot of my time. It was taking up a lot of my energy and my attention because of this neediness. That I was experiencing, okay? But I also had neediness too. This is not about, just about the person, because I had a need too, and my need was of validation. You remember that story that I told you about with me being a little girl and not being validated or not feeling validated? I wanted to be validated too, and I wanted to be loved too. So I felt like I had to save people in order to get this validation and love and this approval that I was looking for. Approval is the word that I wanted to be using. Approval. So I got into this relationship. It was just something I tumbled into, where I got into this relationship with this person who was just always wanting something from me, always needing something from me, constantly needing me to prop them up and build them up and encourage them and make them feel better about their life and You know what I mean? There's always some kind of chaos. There's always some kind of problem, no matter what I do. There's always, no, not based on no matter what I do, but no matter how many problems we solve, there's always more. There's always a crisis. There's always a problem. That relationship was really, really unhealthy. But anyway, let me get to the lesson of it. I learned the lesson of it, and it was because I had my own wounds within myself of not being validated, not being approved of, and just not feeling good enough. So I always had to do things for other people. I really learned in that relationship that I deserve a whole lot more than this. There got to be a point where I was just like, I was so done. I said, this is ridiculous. I can't keep going through this anymore. I cannot keep giving and hemorrhaging my time and hemorrhaging my, myself and hemorrhaging my life to this person. And this person does not want to get up and do any better for themselves. So that really completely shut out or destroyed this part of me that wanted to save people. That was my lesson. I can't save people. Who said I can save people? I can't save anybody. You can't save someone that doesn't want to be saved anyway, if you want to look at it that way. So I learned the hardest way that you cannot save anybody. I mean, there's a lot more to say about that, but this show is not about me, okay? I'm just making these examples so that maybe you can see yourself in them, or, you can make a reference, a point of reference for something that's going on in your life. Okay, but this is not about me. But yeah, I was in that relationship, and it was just so one-sided. It was so one-sided, and it got to the point where I was dreading to pick up the phone. That's the reason why I put that point in there. I was dreading to pick up that phone and answer the call, because I thought to myself, oh God, here we go again. Here comes another problem. Here comes another crisis or chaos that I'm going to have to fix, and I'm going to have to help save her from. You know what I mean? It was just... Anyway, the point I'm making is that I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson that I can't save anybody. It took me 7 years to realize that I can't save anybody. Through that experience, it had to be bad enough. It had to get bad enough. So exhausted, so turned off, so jaded, so frustrated. It took me so much to get to that point. Because one thing about me, I'm very stubborn. If I'm loyal, I'm very loyal. If I love someone, I love them. I mean, I will love you to your grave. I love you. Okay? But it really pushed me to realize that I needed to let go. I needed to let go. It pushed me to realize that there comes a point where you need to let go. You need to let go. You need to let people deal with their own issues and deal with their own problems and take their own responsibilities. It taught me that I deserved more and I deserved better than just to be someone's doormat. It really taught me a lot more about that. So anyway, that's my example, okay? Now, if you're unsure as to whether you're in a codependent relationship, aside from the things that I told you, and aside from the personal example, sometimes you just need some points, okay? So here's a few points to determine if you may be in a codependent relationship. Because I believe, not all relationships are exactly the same, and not all of them have the same dynamics, and not all of them look exactly the same, or smell exactly the same, or seem the same, okay? So, you know the answer already, okay? But maybe this will reaffirm something you already know within yourself, okay? But anyway, so the first one is that you're always giving. I mean, I gave away all my points already, pretty much. I always do that. I try not to talk too much, but then it's like, I still give away all my points before I'm trying to give them away. So you're always giving. Always giving. I know you're the chronic giver. You must be. Because if you were the chronic taker, you would not be watching this video. You would have no issues. You would have no problems. Okay? With that relationship dynamic, because you're always taking. Now, you're always giving your money, your time, your advice, your favors, your consolation, your encouragement, your effort, Your emotions, you're constantly giving, hemorrhaging, giving. But you can't really sit there and see how many times you were given something. You just remember yourself giving, always being this, always being that, always doing this, always doing that for this person or other people. You're always giving, but you can't remember the last time you were given something in this relationship. You just know that you're the one who's always giving. Okay? That's the first point. Now the second point is, because of this, you feel unbalanced. Of course you're going to feel unbalanced. If you're always the one giving, things are going to feel unbalanced. It feels unbalanced. And the thing is, I might point out too, because I'm a natural giver. I'm just a natural giver, so I can give, and don't realize I'm giving so much until I'm absolutely drained and exhausted because I've given so much. Because I'm just a natural giver, so I don't notice how much I'm giving until it gets to the breaking point. And then I say, okay, I'm giving too much. So sometimes you have to get to that point to realize, okay, I'm giving too much because I'm feeling totally out of balance here, emotionally and physically. Things feel imbalanced in the relationship as well. That's what I mean. Things just feel off. Sometimes, because with this codependent relationships, it can be very good, at times. It can be very good. It can be very intimate. That means that you are very close with this person. It doesn't always have to be physical, okay? Because if it's a friendship, it doesn't have to be that way. Okay? You can be very intimate with that person, very close with that person. You guys can be very, very close with one another. But then there's something that feels off about it, mainly because you're always giving. You're always giving, or you're always doing. Something feels off. It feels out of balance. And there may be times where, things are bad. They're really bad. The lines are being crossed and boundaries are being crossed. And of course, there's a million scenarios for this, which I can't give you really any scenarios for that, because all these relationships are unique, even if they're codependent, okay? But yes, things feel balanced and they feel off. And then if you say, let's say if you go to this person and you say, something feels off, they may not feel the same way. And that is the tricky dynamic, because you're knowing that something's off and there's something unbalanced, and you know it, you can feel it, and you've decided in your mind, yes, it's unbalanced. And then you may go to that person and say, something feels unbalanced. I don't know, I'm feeling very so-and-so and so-ish. And they're saying, well, I'm all right, I'm cool. I don't feel that it's unbalanced. I think we're cool. I think it's all cool. And that can be tricky, because you're codependent, you're relying on that person to tell you that, yes, it's unbalanced too. But they don't say that. So then it makes you question yourself and you stay in that relationship. So it can be very tricky, very, very tricky. Okay? Anyway, the next point is, there's always a problem that needs to be solved for that person. Just like I was explaining, giving away my points already. There's always a problem that needs to be solved. That person always needs your assistance. They need your time. They need your advice. They need your encouragement. They need your money. They need you to save them. They need you to make them feel better about themselves. They need you. 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 All the time. That's an indication that it's unbalanced and it's one-sided. There's always a problem, because that person does not want to handle their own responsibilities. They don't want to solve their own problems. They don't want to think for themselves. They don't want to feel and go through their own issues by themselves, so that they can come to the point where they can make their transformation or their progress by themselves. They want to put it on you. They want you to do everything for them. They want you to do everything for them. That's why it's one-sided. They don't want to take on the responsibility. They don't want their own responsibilities. So you have to sit there and deal with your own stuff and your own issues, and you have to deal with all your own human stuff, all the stuff that comes with being you, and then you have to take on this load from someone else because they don't want to carry themselves and do for themselves. Okay, you can kind of figure out what I'm saying about this. You can figure out what I'm saying about that. Okay, so you're going to get exhausted. That's just how it's going to be. You can't be carrying other people. You cannot be carrying a grown adult. Okay? It's different when you're carrying a child. When you're carrying a baby who really is helpless. But when you're carrying a child, yeah, you're going to have some problems with that. So with that said, they're a person that always needs you. I mean, yes, these are all connected and related, but I think it's good to break them down into specific little points. Okay, they always need you. That's an indication you're in a codependent relationship. They need you. Calling you often. Wanting to know your agenda. They need you to talk. They need you to talk to you. Everything is need. They can never get enough. They can never get enough. You know what I'm saying? They need you. That's what they say. And that's what they want. They always need you. If you're having someone who says they need you, unless you're the only person on the planet, they don't need you. There's how many other people on this planet? Mind you now, if this is someone who is your parent, I mean, okay, I understand you love me, but you have to let me go. And you have to love me as I go and do what it is that I'm doing in life, because you're not gonna lose me. It's just that I can't live my life for you. I can't do for you. So yes, you love me, but there's a line. There's there's this line that you have to distinguish, okay? And this is another way you can tell you're in a codependent relationship. You and this person have no distinguishable differences between you. Between each other. You and this person have no distinguishable differences between each other, between you and this other person. So what that means is, like I said about the skin grafting, okay, your interests, your plans, your goals, your activities all become one. So that means that your uniqueness is not so seen or recognized. It's like you just start doing everything like each other. You're doing everything with each other. Okay, like each other. You become so intertwined with each other that it's like there's no separation between you and that person. So for example, if you're friends, you dress alike, you guys dress alike. You start to speak alike using the same idioms and the same metaphors, and you sit there and you have the same inflections in your voice and you just start becoming like each other. Same routine. You guys wake up the same time every day, and you call each other the same time every day, and you do the same thing each time, all the time. You have reliance on each other for making decisions. That's what I mean by that. So your plans are no longer your plans, like uniquely your plans anymore. They just become like the other person's. Because that's what this codependency dynamic requires, is that you become homogenized with each other and assimilated with each other. You're codepending on each other. You're not independent, you're codependent. Okay, so that's what I mean by that. It's like you just have no distinguishable differences between you and this person. Not to say that you look alike, or you look exactly alike, or your features are alike, or your body sizes are alike. But what I'm saying is that the way you conduct your life, the way you live your life, the decisions you make, the activities you partake in, just everything you're doing Everything that you're creating and you're making, it's like it's based off of this person. It's based off of what they like. It's based off of what's comfortable for the both of you. You know, that type of thing. That type of thing. And with that, you don't feel comfortable stepping out to new experiences. So you may get to a point where you're like, okay, you know what? Gosh, I want to do something different, but I'm not sure if that person, or I'm not sure if this friend or this lover or whoever is going to be happy with me doing that. You feel uncomfortable stepping out to do new experiences without them. Making choices and plans without them. So for example, if you want to go on vacation, you're not comfortable. Maybe it wouldn't be okay if I go on by myself because we need to be together and we need to do this together. Maybe they won't like that. You know what I'm saying? This is what the codependency does. It makes you think that you can't make your own life and do your own thing. So you're nervous about going on vacation or making a career change. Because it can get to the point like that where it's like, oh, I'm just going to do what you're doing and you're going to do what I'm doing. Yeah. So you're nervous about making a career change or moving or whatever. Doesn't matter what it is. Like, you're just nervous. You're not comfortable about stepping out and having a new experience outside of this person, outside of the relationship. So the next point is that related to what I'm saying is that you're craving space. Of course, you're craving space. You're craving space of your own, on your own space between you and this person. You're craving that space. You want space. You have this desire, this strong desire to just separate, temporarily and permanently. If it gets to that point where you're just like, you know what, I'm sick of this, like myself, I'm just going to permanently cut this person off. I'm so sick of it. I'm burned out. Okay? So you're craving your own space. You want your own space for you between this person. You want distance and space. And because you're still in this relationship, of course, you feel trapped, tied down, obligated. You don't feel free. You feel trapped and obligated, tied down. Because after all, this person needs you, right? They need you. I need you. You know? You're the reason why I'm getting up in the morning. You're the reason why I'm going on with my day. You make me feel good. You make me this. You make me that. There's no one else in the world out there like you. If you hear that, you're most likely in a codependent relationship. You're the only one that understands me. You're the only one that loves me. You're the only one that gives me time. You know, it's that type of thing, that kind of dynamic. So with that, and if you're a chronic giver and you're a people pleaser, oh gosh, you're going to feel like you are obligated to stay. You're going to feel like you're obligated to continue with that dynamic where you are the savior and you are the, one that saves them and helps them to grow, even though they're not growing because they're not taking responsibility for themselves. But you're the one who's taking responsibility for them to be a better person or for them to overcome this addiction or this habit. You usually have those kind of dynamics. Somebody who's, an addict, and you have someone else who is obviously not, right? That's why you can help them or try to or attempt to help them with that situation because, you're the savior. I need you. I need you. I need you. I need you. That is really the flavor and the essence of codependent relationship, guys. Okay? The flavor and essence of codependent relationships. So anyways, let's kind of not really backtrack, but because these are both intertwined, like ridiculously intertwined, but let's go to overcoming some sacrificing habits. And that can obviously, if you master overcoming self-sacrificing habits, then you'll know exactly how to deal with your codependent relationships. But anyway, let me go into the reasons or the ways that you can overcome self-sacrificing habits. Okay, so the first part is finding ways of getting back in touch with you. Okay, finding ways of getting back in touch with yourself. Finding your alone time, because you need to. That's what you need to do. You're giving too much of yourself away. You're giving too much of yourself to other people. You have no time for yourself. So you have to find ways of getting back in touch with you. Getting your alone time. Alone time. Don't bring anybody with you. You have to have alone time. So go on a vacation or a staycation. Stay at home. Lock yourself in the house. Or lock yourself in the bathroom. You know what I mean? You can do that. Go to the park. Do an activity that will leave you to yourself, where you can be inside of yourself, where you can hear yourself think. Do yoga. Do exercise. Go to the gym. You know, I always talk about that. Sorry if I'm being redundant, but I mean, you can do that. You know, like I said, locking yourself in the bathroom, keeping yourself, you know, away from other people. Whatever you can do to make a sanctuary for yourself without distraction. Without distraction. So that means turn off your phone. If you can, turn off that phone. Turn it down. Turn the ringer off. Turn it off. Put it away. Put it in the drawer. I don't know. Just do something where you're not going to have any distractions. You're just with yourself. You're by yourself. Okay? With that said, you set this time per day, per week, however, you know, you can fit it in, whatever is good for you, where you need to balance and rejuvenate yourself. So you have to make it a habit to find a time to balance and rejuvenate yourself by finding ways of getting back in touch with you. Make it a habit. Don't do it one time. One time is not enough. It's not going to cut it. Once a month is not going to cut it. Okay? You need to get back in touch with you. You have to get back to you. You are your first priority. So you need to get back in touch with you. This is not just a one-time thing. You have to keep doing it. Just like you keep giving yourself away to other people. Giving yourself away to the cause. Giving yourself away to an agenda or purpose or whatever of someone else. You have to get back in touch with you. So you write an agenda for yourself. Write an agenda, write a plan for yourself. Figure out when you're going to do this, how you're going to do it, you know, how you're going to make this work for you. Okay, because it's different for everybody. I don't know your life. You know, everyone has different lives. I don't know how it's going to work out for you in terms of what will cause you to make you bring yourself back in touch with yourself. There's so many different ways you can do this. Okay? But this is just my suggestion. This is another point. You must, and I think you must, and this is really important. You must treat yourself sometimes. Treat yourself. I don't know what the treat is. It could be anything that you love. You love it. You love it. It's something that you love. It's special to you. You got to treat yourself because you've got to know that you're deserving of being pampered and treated kindly and treated nicely. And you're doing this to yourself. You got to do it to yourself, because when you do it to yourself, you make yourself know that it's okay for you to do this or for other people to do this for you. You're teaching yourself, okay? Because when you're neglecting yourself, you're teaching yourself that it's okay to neglect yourself. So you have to treat yourself. You've got to know that you're deserving of pampering or taking yourself out to dinner or, you know, whatever, all that girly stuff and womanly stuff that a lot of women do, okay? It doesn't have to just be girly and womanly, but you know what I'm saying. You just do anything. It could be riding a dirt bike, I don't know. But, you know, you just do things that are going to tell you or let you know and let your spirit know, let your soul know that it's okay for me to be treated. It's okay for me to be pampered. You pick something you like, okay? This is something, because I know if you're really a self-sacrificial person, it's very easy for us to put ourselves last, and that's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is, don't go somewhere and pick something cheap or something that, oh, this kind of works, or, maybe I can work with this because, so and so and this and that, and I'll just pick something because whatever. No, no, no. I want you to pick what you want. Pick what you really want, what you really want to do. Okay, don't be looking at the price and don't be looking at, oh, this and that and this and that. You need to really give yourself something you really want. Don't make this something that is not a big deal. It's a big deal. You have to treat yourself. You have to pamper yourself. You have to let yourself know that I deserve something. I deserve the best. I deserve to be treated kindly. I deserve to have good things sometimes. It's not about the things. It's really the action that I'm trying to get you to realize. Take the time to do something for yourself that you know you're going to like, that you love. That makes a difference to you. It really does make a difference to you, okay? So treat yourself. Now, some of the things that I think you should know and remind yourself, about these sacrificial habits or reversing these habits, is that it is your responsibility and right in life, to the universe, to live your life fully and richly and fulfilled and on purpose. Remember what I talk about on purpose? You remember what I talked about with purpose? So maybe you should, if you haven't watched that episode number 4, then you should watch that episode. So that could go quite nicely with this episode here about self-sacrifice. But yes, it is your responsibility in life to live your life purpose, to live your life richly and full and fulfilled. It is your responsibility to come here and do what it is that your soul's telling you to do, and what your desires are, because your desires reflect what it is your purpose is as well. Okay? It is your responsibility to be content and happy. The universe and life wants you to be happy and content, okay? It wants you to be the best you can be. It wants you to continue to grow and expand and evolve and become more and more brighter and more happier. And, you're supposed to be happy. If you're living your life purely for others, and you see, let me make the distinction, because the distinction between purpose and self-sacrifice, because if you watch my video number 4, okay, I was just saying that purpose is really about serving other people. Yes, it's right. You're serving other people. There's a difference between serving yourself to other people and to being self-sacrificial. There's a difference, because self-serving, or to serve yourself it's emanating from you. It's coming from your purpose. It's coming from your talents and your abilities and your desires. It's coming from your essence. It's coming from you. You are doing it because it is something that you want to do. It is something you're doing because you know that your soul is pushing you to do it. It's coming from you. It's not people-based necessarily. Do you understand? It can serve a need or it can serve a want, but it's emanating from you. It's coming from you. It's who you are. It's what you're about. Okay? Now, when you're self-sacrificial, you are totally disregarding yourself. You are not aware of yourself and your purpose and your goals and your dreams. You're not in touch with you. You're just doing things to serve an agenda for other people, or to serve some kind of unnecessary need that they want you to fulfill. Okay? And the distinguishes, obviously, is that when you're living on purpose and you know your purpose and you're doing your purpose, you're happy, you're fulfilled, you feel good, right? That's the difference. That is the distinguishable difference. When you are self-serving, guess what? Like I said, you're unhappy, you're miserable, you're drained out. So you can tell what's the difference between serving your purpose and self-sacrificing for other people's needs. Okay? So when you're living this way for others, when you're just living for others, not living for yourself, connected to yourself, with yourself, about yourself, to ultimately help other people, there's no room for you. There's no room for you. Your life is going to go down the drain. That's just how it becomes, okay? It goes down the drain. Like I said, you become a frustrated, unhappy, empty. And just know that if you're going to do for others, you have to do for yourself first. You have to do for yourself first. You can't do for others unless you are doing for yourself to enable yourself to go out there and spend all that time and energy and effort and, put so much of yourself in. You have to fill up your own tank, right? You're a car. Well, you're not really a car, but you have to fill up your own tank in order to drive that car. If your tank is always on empty, how the heck are you going to drive? You can't drive with an empty tank. You need to drive. So you have to be full. Okay? You have to revitalize yourself. You have to get in touch with yourself. You have to do for yourself. You got to treat yourself with respect. You got to pamper yourself. Okay? You got to do what's good for you and what's right for you. That's the only way you can do for other people. If you so choose, you're not obligated. Okay? The next thing you need to know is that you matter. You matter. Okay? You matter. You need to know that you matter. And this is probably the reason why you're people-pleasing, you're self-sacrificial, or you're in codependent relationships, is because you don't think you matter. You matter. You may not have been told or taught this, or you may have been taught, or it's been indicated, or it's been insinuated, or the way that they've been treating you, or their behavior, it taught you that you don't matter. That what you want doesn't matter. Other people may have expressed this though, but you were taught that you don't matter, but you do matter. What you want matters. What you feel matters. Who you are matters. And I know it's kind of strange because sometimes, especially when we've been programmed so long to believe that we have to be for other people, we think that if I just do what I want to do, it's not going to matter. It does matter. What you love to do matters. What you want to do matters. What's important to you is important to other people. For example, like this podcast that I'm making. I'm saying this stuff because it matters to me. It matters to me, but it matters to other people too. And I think that when you do what matters to you, it matters to other people. Just by that principle of you caring enough about something, or you having a desire, or have this fire burn on the inside, it's going to light that fire in other people. The right ones anyway. Not all people are going to be, other people are going to take on what it is you're taking on. But I just feel like that's just how it is. Anything you really care about, other people are going to know that you care about it. But they're also going to care too. Especially if it's your purpose. If it's your purpose, other people are going to care too. So what matters? What I'm doing matters. What I love to do matters. What you love to do matters. What you are matters. You need to know that. Okay? Don't have anyone telling you that what you want doesn't matter. Or what you feel doesn't matter. Or what you hope to accomplish doesn't matter. Don't allow anybody to tell you that. That's out of fear. That is out of fear of them losing what it is that you're giving them. Or how you're a crutch to them. That's what they're afraid of. Don't let anybody tell you that. You can do whatever the heck you want to do, and what you do matters. What you want matters. Okay? So anyway, the next point is that you need to also understand is that you're lovable. You are lovable. Whatever you are, however you are, whatever state you're in, you are lovable. And I'm telling you, you will still be loved. Based on the stuff that I said earlier on in this, like in the first few minutes of this episode, is that because we feel sometimes, especially with abuse, is that we feel that we're not lovable. Or, did I say that? But I'm saying that I don't even know exactly what I said to the T, but I know that within myself, okay, that I felt like I wasn't lovable, so I had to do for others in order to get that validation, that approval and love. I think I was talking about myself more, okay? But I know that other people feel this way. I know I'm not the only one that felt that way, okay? But I wanted to say that you have to know that you are lovable. You don't need to do things to be lovable. You don't need to say things to be lovable. You don't need to fulfill everyone's needs to be lovable. You're still going to be loved by those who truly love you. Do you understand? You don't have to do anything to earn someone's love. They're just going to love you. That's it. So regardless of if you're sacrificing and you're fulfilling agendas and you're doing this and you're doing that, you're still going to be lovable. Doesn't matter what state or condition or actions you take, you're still going to be loved by those who truly love you. That's where we get unconditional love, right? Unconditional love. Those who love you are going to love you no matter what. It's called unconditional love. So you're lovable. You're lovable. Those people who want you to do things for you, those people who want you to do things for them, and if you don't do it, they're going to react, they're going to scream, they're going to get upset, they're going to leave, they're going to, whatever, treat you like crap. They don't love you. Now, before you're about to do something that someone asks you to do for someone, okay, ask yourself if it really needs to be done. So this is something before you start sacrificing yourself again needlessly, okay? If somebody wants you to really do something for them, okay, ask yourself if it really needs to be done. Is it absolutely necessary? Is it absolutely necessary? Why does this person want to ask you? Is this person, if whatever they're asking you to do, if you do not do it, is this person going to die or collapse or crash or crumble or go under? Is it that kind of scenario? And if you don't do it for them, is there somebody else who can do it for them? Or is it just you? It's just you? And why is it just you? You have to ask yourself these questions. Do they need you alone? They can't ask anybody else, or are they just asking you because they know they can get it from you quickly? Without a fuss or without a hassle, and because you've demonstrated to them that you will take on whatever it is that they ask you. So you have to ask yourself these questions. If it's something that you don't do for today, are they going to throw a hissy fit? Or if it's a purpose that you see that needs to be done, could you leave it for another time when you have more energy and more effort? Or you have more energy? Or when you feel better and you're in a better place? Can you do that? Can you leave that till then? Just ask yourself these questions. Because sometimes we're so programmed and so automatic to doing things, we don't even realize that we don't need to do it. It's not necessary. So anyway, codependent relationships. So I'm going to give you some ways of how you can overcome codependency or how to deal with codependent relationships, okay? So you remember all the stuff I was saying about codependent relationships. Okay, so the first point is set boundaries. You have to set boundaries. You have to set boundaries. You have to. Strict, solid boundaries. Because like I said, the codependent dynamic, what it requires, what it enables is this codependency to keep going, is that it has no boundaries. There's no breaks. There's no boundaries. There's no line that says, okay, you cannot go past here. This is yours. This is mine. This is your responsibility. This is my responsibility. This is what I do. This is what you do. There's no line there for codependency. That's the problem. Okay? Or maybe there's very, very thin lines. And they're not drawn all the way down. Thin lines. But anyway, for example, I'll give you an example of what setting a boundary is. So say this person's calling you too much, 50 times a day. Let's just say that, okay? And you say to them, okay, you know what? I feel as though we're speaking on the phone for a very long time, for too long. I have things that I need to get done. So I'm going to ask you, or I'm going to say to you that it would be only appropriate for you to call me between 2 and 4 p.m. Anytime outside of that, I'm not going to be answering the phone because I have things I'm doing. That's a boundary. You're telling people how to conduct themselves with you, how it is okay for you in this relationship. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? Boundaries are very, very important. Because at the end of the day, this relationship involves you. So if you're not good and you're not comfortable, there's a problem. Everyone has to be comfortable. And especially if you're a chronic giver, you need to draw lines and boundaries. Once you realize that you're doing too much of this, you have to draw those lines and say, okay, you know what? This is ridiculous. I need to cut this off. Or I need to... It's not supposed to be like this, okay? Sometimes you come to yourself, right? Just like I came to myself in that relationship. I just came to myself and I realized this is ridiculous. I can't keep doing it like this. But anyway, because there were times in that example that I gave you, there were times where I did take a break and I did set boundaries and I did have space, but then things got blurred and convoluted all over again, and that person called me and I just went right through that whole cycle again. But I went through a lot of trial and error with that. But anyway, what I'm saying is you have to set boundaries. For an emotional boundary, for example, it's like, okay, this is a line that you do not cross. Because I find that with codependent relationships, and based off of the things that I've read over the years, and just things that I've observed and people's stories and stuff like that, that there's usually this... There's no line for emotional boundaries. There's no emotional boundaries. So that means that this person says whatever they want. They do whatever they want. They can use your vulnerabilities against you. So it can be very, very toxic. It can be very, very toxic, very unbalanced, and especially if you're the one who is the chronic giver and you're overly giving and you're overly forgiving and you're overly, you're going to have that dynamic with your other person. The other person is the one who's always doing the same mistakes and always messing up and always being careless, and you're always cleaning up the mess and you're always getting hurt by what they're saying because you're the one who's always giving. You're always the savior. You're always going to take their crap and allow them to get away with it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So emotional boundaries. You say, okay, this is the line that I do not want you to cross. I don't want you to cross this line. If you cross this line, that's it. We're terminating this relationship. Or, you know what I mean? Like, you cannot say this about me. Or if you do this, we're going to have a big problem, okay? You have to put boundaries to tell this person which line that they cannot cross. They cannot cross this line. You must have a line for everyone to which they cannot cross. There must be boundaries. Because I'm telling you, geez, in life and with all these different places and people and how people are being raised and, you know, their upbringing and their background and, you know, their dysfunctional families, and everybody's dysfunctional on some level, of course. With everyone's situation, you know, you're going to have people who think it's appropriate to act a certain way, and you think it's totally not appropriate. And it really, most likely, it's not appropriate. But because that's how they grew up and that's how they lived, that they're bringing that to the relationship. But then you don't like it, or you feel funny about it. So you have to tell people, you have to let people know what you do not like and what you do not tolerate. Okay? You have to let people know what you will not take and what you will not tolerate. The line that they should not cross. You must do that, because if you don't do that, people are just going to do whatever the heck they want to do. That's just how it's going to go. People are going to do what they know and do how they feel. And it's not going to be a good situation. So you teach people how you want to be treated. You teach them. You have to do that. Okay? So anyway, our next point is, if you're in a codependent relationship and it's too claustrophobic and too stuffy, because you're giving too much of yourself, you got to create space and distance between you and this person. You have to. You have to create space and distance. And I'm saying that, like, you know, like I was saying with the codependent relationships, it could be with family members. It can be between you and your parent. It can be between you and your sibling, your father, you know, you and your father. It could be anybody. Anybody in your relationships, anybody in your family, any of your friends, okay? So you got to create distance and space between you and this person in order to maintain a healthy balance. Because, I mean, of course, if you're a codependent, you cannot sit there. Sorry about the noise in the background. You cannot think that, okay, I'm tired of this, I'm frustrated, I'm just going to cut off the relationship. Because that's still your family member. Or that's some relationship that you know is important to you. But it's just that it has to be modified to be more balanced. So create space for yourself. Balance yourself. Maintain a healthy balance between you and that person. It gives yourself more perspective about yourself, so you can continue to do your work and continue to do what it is that you do for yourself. But it also gives you perspective about that person as well, or the relationship that you're in. It gives perspective. It gives you perspective. It makes you think, okay, well, this needs to be changed, and I'm not really sure about this over here, and maybe that's a little unhealthy over here. Space and distance really does put a lot of things in perspective for you, and you can see what really is right for you, what's best for you. Also, when you create space and distance between this person and yourself, it forces them to take responsibility. It forces you to take responsibility too. It's not just them. It forces them to take responsibility for themselves, because if they're always needing you and they're always calling you and they're always wanting you, you know, they're always wanting your advice and your, you know, encouragement and your this and your that, and you're not around, guess what? They're going to have to figure it out themselves, or they're probably going to get someone else to do it for them. But that's not your problem. Okay, but it forces them to take responsibility for themselves. Okay. Now, if this person, you know, when you're taking your little hiatus, or you're taking your break, or you're taking your distance, and they're calling you, even though you said you don't want them to call you, you want your time and you want your space, and they're still calling you, oh, I need you to do this, I want you to do that, I want you, and it's like you told them already that you want your space. Well, I'm gonna get more into that anyway. I like to get ahead of myself. Let me just continue on. There's really not much more to cover, but anyway. Okay, so the next point is to say no. To say no. This really should have come after setting boundaries, but anyway, who cares? You really need to say no. You have to say no. It's very hard when you are codependent, self-sacrificial, people-pleasing. You're just this chronic giver, chronic savior, whatever. It's very hard to tell people no. And it can be very hard when this relationship is quite close and intimate. However, it's still very unhealthy. It's hard to say no, but you have to learn to say no and mean it. You got to say no and mean it. If there's something you don't want to do, don't do it. Say no. Because you're not going to feel good saying yes, because you're just going to keep saying yes and meaning no. It's not happy. It's a very disempowering feeling or situation when you're saying yes, but you really mean no. You gotta say no. Especially if you're a savior, chronic giver, you gotta say no. Especially if that person is like always needing, always wanting. They say they need you, but they don't really need you. They just don't want to take responsibility for themselves. But they're saying that they need you, they rely on you. It's hard to say no when you're always just, you programmed yourself to just save people. You have to say no. Just save yourself. You have to do that in order to break the dependency of that person. That physical or emotional dependency that they may have. And I mean, some situations, I mean, you can be a person where you're literally a caregiver, like you're literally a caregiver. Okay? You're taking care of someone who's disabled or sick or injured or whatever. I understand that. Now, if you're the only one that can help them, I don't know, it's a difficult situation. But if you can solicit other help, then you can solicit other help. Or they can solicit other help, okay? But you have to say no. You must say no for codependent relationships. And this is the next point, is you got to get into the habit of putting yourself first. So before you're so quick to do something for them, or do this for them, or going here, or sending them money, you have to put yourself into the habit. You have to get yourself into the habit of putting yourself first. You have to. Because if you don't, you're going to run yourself in the ground. Just like I was saying about your tank being empty. Your tank must be full in order to keep giving. You have to. Not sacrificing, but just giving of yourself. You have to put yourself first. Okay? Because you are going to run yourself in the ground and get yourself jaded and exhausted from always doing for someone else. You don't have anything left to give this person if you're always giving. Exhausting your supply. Now, and I know you're probably asking or wondering, now what if you do all of this, but this person does not accept it? If you do all of this and this person or people, okay, refuse, or they're not willing to abide, or they're not willing to respect or follow your newly implemented boundaries and the things that you say, okay, you need your freedom and your space, and they're not willing to make adjustments. They're not willing to just respect and honor whatever it is that you are setting out or setting up for yourself. They're adamant about your caretaking. They want you to keep carrying them and doing for them and being for them. Or they want to keep you controlled, perhaps. Then you're going to have to let them go, because there's no other way to that. There's no other way to that. Most often than not, I believe some codependent relationships are just past the point of fixing or handling or dealing with. It's just because one person does not want to grow. They don't want to become. They don't want to take responsibility. They just want to be taken care of, and it's not going to work that way. So you have to let them go. One person cannot be doing all the carrying and the fixing and the helping and the healing. No. And it does not matter, because despite your best efforts, your attempts to make things fair and or balanced or even or okay, if the person is not willing to make that shift, or they're not willing to try to do anything for themselves. This is about willingness here. And of course, putting actions behind their willingness. If they're not willing and they're not putting actions to, adjust themselves based off of your own boundaries, then nothing is going to improve. Nothing's going to change. Nothing is going to improve, and nothing is going to change. That's just how it's going to go. It takes two people to have relationship growth. And if one person does not want to do their part, it's not going to work. Not going to work. So you might have to cut ties. Most likely you're going to have to cut ties with that person. And I know, it's quite difficult and hard to deal with these circumstances, to be in these positions we find ourselves in, okay? and we are confused and drained out. We're not sure of what to do. We're just not sure what to do. We find ourselves in these complicated situations and relationships. But just know that these challenges are here to teach you something. And it's here to help you develop as a person. That's what this is all about. It's all about to teach us about ourselves, and then to also grow us up and expand our sense of self and gain our own power, get our own power back. I think all of these relationship situations, obviously in the aftermath of it, not necessarily in it, but it helps us to reclaim our power, our true idea and essence and knowledge about ourselves, okay? When you're a caring and generous person or a loving individual, we find ourselves sacrificing. It's hard. We're more prone to do this. We find ourselves in codependent relationships. But, it's all a lesson. It's all for your growth. So don't be discouraged if you're in a codependent relationship or you're self-sacrificial and you feel like you can't stop. Yes, you can. And yes, you can handle whatever you need to handle in that relationship, even if that means cutting ties. But you can do it, okay? So just know that it's all for your growth and it's all for your expansion, okay? So that's it for today, guys. Thank you for listening to Woman's Guide to Reclaiming Wholeness After Sexual Abuse. So if there's someone that you think or that may benefit from this show, don't hesitate to share it. So next week, we will explore how to overcome overindulgence, part 1. Be sure to tune in, and until next time, take care.